Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show. I guess. I don't know. I need to work on an intro, I guess. But hello, hello, hello works every time, so we're gonna go with that. Big week, huh? Big week. Gonna be fun, I think. Fun stream. Flurry Roy that says audio and video good. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, big moves. I mean, it doesn't really look like it, but we're having some big moves. I mean, if you turn off log, you can see it. Looks pretty fucking bad. But yeah, we'll talk about it. There's a few reasons, I think, to be optimistic. There's obviously a lot of reasons to be pessimistic. So yeah, we'll figure it out as we go. Before I start the show, I want to thank today's sponsor, and I mean every other day's sponsor as well, which is FTX. They have the best mobile spot trading app in the game, in my opinion. So check them out. The links to that are in the description. And yeah, let's get things rolling. We can skip over the high time frames. Nothing's changed there. Monthly still looks absolutely hideous. The weekly actually starting to hit support levels, right? Almost hit this one, just front ran it by a little bit. The one just below 20k. And I think there's going to be quite some time actually before we hit this, if we hit it at all, just based on the fact how and why we bounced, right? Whenever you have like a support level that gets front run like this, it's either just never tested or it just gets completely blown through, right? So I think there's a good chance that we're either never going to test it, walk up, or at least not now, and then maybe at some point come back down again, test it, or we're just going to blow right through it, right? When you front run these kind of levels, very, very rare that you get a bounce and then you just retest it again, come back up. And even like in that case, I wouldn't really want to buy the level in the first place. I'd much rather just buy on a lower high, higher low that you set in here, right? That would work. In this case, like I'm not gonna be bidding 19k anymore. I was thinking about it. I had plans for it. I bought before it hit, and now even if something happens that makes me close my position or like adding or whatever, I'm not going to do. Hey Dawn, I can't believe that you just bought a Bored Ape. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just thought it'd be for the memes because we're gonna ape, right? That's what I did anyway. I aped. I bought a bunch of shit on an unconfirmed move, and I felt like the timeline needed some ape energy, so fuck it, I bought an ape. I mean, I bought a bunch of ETH anyway. Might as well do like with a tiny portion of that. Might as well just buy it like some garbage NFTs, right? That's what I did. Also bought Bitcoin. Also bought Sol. So we can talk about all of these. But yeah, Bitcoin front run is supported a little bit, and is now like in the middle of pretty much nowhere. It's pretty tough, high time frame wise. But I think we're either through most of it or we're just gonna go very, very deep, like I said, because we front ran the support. So either we're just gonna overrun the support and just completely vanish, or I think we're gonna bounce. And I think it's more likely that we're gonna bounce. So that's why I bought. There's not like some of the reason, and I mean we can just ignore Bitcoin for now. Some of the reason, right? And this is, I'm gonna lose my shit if the same thing happens again, right? Do you guys remember the last time I bought Bitcoin? I was like, you guys are bearish at S&P support. This is stupid. And then the S&P bounced a shitload and Bitcoin didn't do anything. Do you remember that? Just a couple of weeks ago, where I sold basically break even or a little bit above it, and then had to kind of like see the S&P mega rally and Bitcoin just do nothing. Yeah, we're in the same situation again, just on the monthly. Hit monthly support. I saw that. I was like, okay, It's getting a little bit overdone, the entire move. We're at support. This is the first support we have, the first really strong one. So like might as well punt some. And then I bought Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin does the same thing again, it just not fucking moves up while the S&P mega rallies, I'm going to lose my shit. I'm really going to lose my shit. But that's like one part of the equation. The other one is ETH hitting support. ETH hit the previous all-time high, cut all the way into it, bouncing now. That coupled with the fact that Bitcoin hit 20K, which is also the previous all-time high, just not like ETH is basically trading in here, right? Bitcoin is trading all the way up to the wick. But that kind of confluence, both kind of being in that area, just made me say, okay, I think enough is enough. We've had a big move to the downside. This is 70%, 71. We've had this before, right? Where it went down 70, 71%, and then had a massive bounce, right? In this instance, it actually bounced pretty much 100% almost. I'm not really expecting that, even though like liquidity is really low. So that could be like some stupid shit happening. But I mean, we've been in this situation before. Obviously, the macro situation is a little bit different, but I still think there's room for bounce, right? So like you have a little bit of everything going on right now. And the kind of attitude and atmosphere is just getting completely crazy. So I like to do business in those kind of instances. And I mean, if it doesn't do what I want it to the next few days, obviously, you know me, I'm just going to be selling again. And what I want it to do in the next few days is grind here and then just legitimately just completely pop up towards like 25, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in this area, right? This is what I want it to do. I'd be fine with another like move down before whatever, but I don't necessarily want to be seeing us go all the way down to 19K. So yeah, if that doesn't happen, you remember same story as here, and I do this all the time during bear markets. I explained this last week. I buy, I bought here, and then I just wait and see, does it do what I want it to? If it doesn't, I just sell. I think I sold somewhere here or here. Obviously went a little bit higher, but didn't have the strength to kind of convince me. And then it fell down. And I'm going to do the same thing again if it does the same thing. So it's not like I'm calling the ultimate bear market bottom. I'm just saying like I could see a bounce. Everything is illiquid. Everyone's panicked. Those kind of circumstances lend for a pretty nice kind of move. But yeah, if the FUD gets any worse, obviously you can still break support. Let me see what you guys are writing. What would make you close your position? It just being weak, right? If it just continues to just kind of underperform the S&P again, like it did up here, I'd be more than happy to close. And in general, like I'm looking at a bunch of stuff. Also looking at obviously the Free Arrow Capital kind of news. For the people that don't know, Free Arrow Capital, one of the biggest funds in crypto, allegedly got blown out, right? They were bullish the entire way down and got caught by surprise. Like if you believe the rumors, which I'm pretty sure are true, but apparently got caught up out below 30K, right? So they got like wrecked during the move from 30 to 20K. That's something you have to watch because who knows the implications of that. And then obviously the Celsius stuff as well. But I have the hope that both of those will clear up relatively soon. So. Did you buy spot or perp? I only buy spot these days. Are you getting into altcoins besides the one you mentioned yesterday? No, I mean, I've been thinking about it, but I feel like I've bought enough. I bought a lot of Sol. I'm actually up on Sol quite a bit. Bought like I was talking with Loon this morning, and He kept buying, so I kept buying. So I got like a really nice entry, relatively low, on Sol. Obviously bought publicly at 29.5 ish, and topped up lower, and also bought ETH, but I've tweeted about that, and bought some NFTs, like I said, and that's for now enough for me. I don't really need to buy much more. RIP Supercycle, yeah, I mean, yeah, good meme. How long does it have to grind here for you to consider it weak? You sound more constructive than I've heard you in a while. Yeah, I mean, it's like the thing is, right? The thing is, I want to be bullish crypto, obviously. Now, the macro situation is really shit. We all agree on that. Price action, I mean, whatever the fuck this is, not really constructive either, right? I mean, this is just garbage for now. But we're down 70%. We are in general inherently bullish crypto, right? Most of us anyway. So you kind of have to take stabs at it every now and then. And I don't mind too. I don't mind buying support every now and then. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like losing 10 or 20% here or there on the way down to be able to be positioning yourself at like the bottoms is more than worth it in the long run. But yeah, I feel weirdly comfortable in my positions right now, which I don't know if it's a good sign or bad sign, but I'm very much chilling. Don trades are actually Loom trades. No, the funny thing is with Loom and I, right? So what we do, whenever I buy or he buys, I mean not whenever he buys, but whenever I buy, and I buy rare, like more rarely than he does. Like I tweet, not tweet. I write him a message, and he usually has the same idea. So yeah, and when he has the same idea, it's usually good confluence, because he trades very different from what I do. What do you think that most of the moves come from futures, not the spot market? It's spot mostly, but it depends on the market situation. But yeah, so TA wise, right? Like I said, Bitcoin, there's not that much to talk about. What you want to be seeing is like smaller and smaller candles and a few green ones down here that start curling upwards, right? That's the best kind of view that we could get here, where it starts doing something like this. Those are the most bullish moves that you get, kind of like this. Obviously, this is during an uptrend, this is during a downtrend, but even here, right? Even this would work, where you kind of just walk up in a parabolic fashion. That's the most bullish one, right? So like this would also work, where it goes like this, and then oftentimes you get a wick down, and then you completely send it. Like these kind of instances, that's what you want to see. If it just does this again, if the chart looks like this, that's not going to be good, right? That's a travesty and a half. I mean, whatever the fuck this was, very, very sad to see. Why altcoins are pumping now? Because people are fucking shorting them for no reason. Like, it's so stupid, right? You see this. You see Solana, for example, here. It's down from 260 all the way to 25, right? So 90%, and people finally start shorting on fucking support, right? It's so cheap to pump these things. Like the market cap, and I mean Solana is a bigger one, right? But the market cap is so tiny that it's really, really cheap to kind of pump it. And then if you have a bunch of idiots on one side shorting it, you can just take their money, right? It's free for the taking, because you see, like, okay, the open interest is this and that way, the funding is that way. You can see how people position roughly, right? And then you get like a little bit of relief in the market, and you know that you just need to push it 10, 15, 20%. And then other people that are forced to buy because they shorted support will buy whatever you short, whatever you longed from you at a higher price, right? It's just that. Like a bunch of people shorting support, hoping for a complete collapse, and then they get taken out the back, and you get to, like, whoever bought the lows gets to sell 50% or 100% higher to people that really shouldn't be trading in the first place. And that's something that happens every single time we move down, where people just feel so comfortable shorting after 90% move with the rest of the money they have. It's, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it too much. It's just something that I see over and over and over again, right? Every single cycle. And that's why, like, the list is green, because a bunch of people are trying to kind of bank on everything going to zero, and that usually doesn't work. And like I said, I mean, if you're in a position, and I've had this before, right? I've had this on the long and short side before. When you go on an exchange that's relatively illiquid, right? Trading an illiquid pair. I'd had this with BSV, right? I bought BSV on, I think it was FTX or something. And I was one of the few buyers, and I knew it would go up, but I had like a stop loss like 20% lower, just for like feeling chill, like being able to forget the position. And yeah, I mean, the OI was obvious, the funding increase was obvious, so I wasn't really stealthy getting into the position. And then someone just took advantage of it and was like, okay, someone's like going too hard on this. I really wasn't. I was just being stupid with the stop loss. Shouldn't have had one because it's an illiquid pair. And then I got just wicked out basically before it went up like 150% or something. And that kind of shit happens when you're just trading illiquid stuff, right? It's easy to take advantage of someone. So, yeah. And it's much easier on the other side as well. Like you short support and then get wicked out to the upside is much, much easier than the other way around. Is it worth buying Gptc? I think it's a pretty good price. A bunch of people that I know are buying it. A bunch of giga brains in huge quantities. So I think, yeah, if you want to have Gptc, if you want to buy Bitcoin for the long term right now, I think Gptc is a good bet. I'd be very surprised if you're going wrong with it. Gbdc is currently trading at basically, I think it's like 13,000 Bitcoin. Like, look at that. This is 2018 bear market area. We're trading right back into it, right? That's like roughly, if you look at it, yeah, it's roughly 14K in comparison. So yeah, fee is high. People don't really want to be holding anything. And I think at this point, like if you're a long-term holder, this is a decent bet. It wasn't before. I've been holding off on it. I could see myself, if this trade works, like my current trade, me actually selling my ETH, my Bitcoin, and my Solana on the next bounce, waiting for it to retrace, and then actually buying Gbdc with it and just not doing anything with that position for like a year or two or three. So, did you see the short squeeze on Sell USD yesterday? Crazy, 14 cents to $2.1. Yeah, I saw it. I actually know the people that did it too. So with Sell, this is the exact thing that happened. Like this happened. Like I talked about this, right? Someone shorted Sell based on the news that Celsius was insolvent, whatever, blah blah blah. Right? It went down, and someone shorted it big. You could see it in the open interest. You could see it in a bunch of metrics, right? So basically, one entity did this entire thing, right? Now, if you know anything about the token, you know that there's not that much float going around, and you know that a bunch of people, or one person in this instance, is hilariously oversized for how small the market is. So Bloomdart, for example, and a bunch of other friends of mine just jumped in, bought this shit up, and forced that person to basically close his position, right? And you look at the lower time frames, he sold it all the way down to 0.08. Yeah, it went up a little bit, right? So whatever he sold, he had to pay dearly for. And at some point, he has to close it, right? You're shorting this, you have to close it. Otherwise, the price just keeps on going until you're squeezed out. And everyone that's buying knows that they're going to find a seller because that person has to sell. So yeah, you can do that kind of shit when you see people just going too hard. And that's why I warn people about like the illiquidness of altcoins in bear markets. It's like you can short stuff relatively easy when it's high up because it's liquid and there's not going to be like the threat of this. The lower they go, like when they're down 90, 95, 99%, yeah, they can still easily go down 99% from that point onwards, but they're going to be so illiquid that it's very risky to do. So yeah. And I mean, that's just how stuff works, right? And this is like the simplest of the simple. So I mean, if you don't understand all of that, you should not be shorting altcoins or anything, really, because it's just not going to be playing out for you. So yeah. Do you think selling Sol at 38 is too early? So for Sol, right, we didn't talk about it yet. Jesus, I am printing. And this is kind of hilarious because I feel like I'm printing, but it's up nothing compared to where I want it to go, right? But with regards to Sol, right, this is basically the plan that I made a long time ago. I mean, I made it at $46 or whatever. So dip into support, rally into resistance, and then dip further down. I could honestly see, like, I think this is a really good setup, right? I bought in here at support. I'm looking for resistance. I can turn this red for the people that like stuff color coded. I don't really care. I could see this or this. So 40 or 80, that's my target, right? And like either 45, 50 or all the way to 80. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'm gonna wait and see. And it's obviously not a guarantee that it's gonna hit, but it feels very likely. So I'm more than happy with my Sol position. Yeah, I think worst case, obviously this rolls over, right? But a likely case, if this is bearish, I think is we retest 45-ish, so up here. And if it's not as bearish as everyone thinks, I think there's even a relatively good chance that we go to 80. And that's why I took a position, right? Because if this shit triples or almost triples, I'm going to be a happy duck. Obviously doesn't have to happen. I just see the possibility. And the risk reward was kind of nice. It's obviously getting worse the further away from support you get. That's why like my 29 buys like at the edge of support felt kind of okay still. But yeah, who knows? I don't want to like whenever I say, okay, this could go to 80, people are buying it and then they're blaming me if it doesn't. This is just a trade for me, right? And if it doesn't do what I want it to, same story with Bitcoin, I'm just going to be fucking selling it, right? So just because I'm buying it doesn't mean you have to. And I'm not buying it anymore. I already have. And with Sol BTC, hit support, I mean, that's just good confidence, right? You hit USD support, you hit BTC support. Where's the next resistance? Actually quite a bit away, 40%-ish on the Bitcoin pair. Which, I mean, if the Bitcoin pair goes up 40% and Bitcoin rallies somewhat, you can kind of imagine that we're going to be easily able to reach 44, if not more, right? Because like I said, if this runs all the way to resistance, that's 40%. If that is coupled with Bitcoin running like roughly to resistance, that's 30%. That would take it, yeah, roughly to my targets, right? So there you go. Markets are boring. Markets are not boring right now. I think this is this is huge news, right? Like if you're not watching the markets right now, I think you're doing yourself a huge disservice. This is either, in my opinion, this is either the bottom or the start of the collapse. And there's a very, very good chance it's the bottom. There's a very good chance it's the start of the collapse, right? But like either way, you want to be watching this shit. And it's very, very important that you do, I think. Like, I mean, I've been saying don't do anything for the last year or two. And I mean bottom in the sense that I'm not saying this is the final bottom, but I'm saying like midterm, like for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, this could be the bottom, or it's just like this, and then we have the bottom at 12 to 14K before, and this could be the long-term bottom, right? But I think there's a good chance that we're going to be trading higher in the next month, 2 or 3. So if the market feels boring to you, I think you're not looking closely enough, because there's big opportunities everywhere. It's obviously not quite certain if it's to the downside or the upside, but I'm betting on upside. If it's downside, so be it. I'll go take a loss. So yeah. Can you talk about ETH? Didn't I talk about ETH? But yeah, we can talk about ETH. So ETH monthly hit support, right? Where do I want it to go? Somewhere near, and I mean this is obviously it seems kind of crazy, right? But we're at support, and where do I expect it to bounce to? After it hits support, I expect it to hit resistance, right? Which is a 2x away. Doesn't have to happen, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill by now. But that's kind of like, that's my dream. We go all the way to resistance. And it could still be bearish. That's the funny part, right? Because if you know your bubbles, right? Your bubble chart, this is the bubble chart, right? Now, high time frame wise, we kind of did that, like on the lower time frames, but you could argue this is one move. It's going to bounce here, and then it could easily do this, right? But I mean, I'm down for that, like anyway. I'm going to take profit. Like if it ever gets anywhere close to that, I'm going to take all of it, everything that I bought out of the market. Because if we go above 2.4, 2.5, I think there's a good chance that we're going to just go to new all-time highs, which I think just doesn't seem too likely in this scenario. So that's like the max that I would ever go to. I'm not entirely sure if I'd even hold it this long. But that's the next resistance we have on the monthly chart, right? And that's kind of, that kind of risk reward is why I'm participating, right? Because your risk is basically 20K breaking, and for ETH 1K or like all the way down to 800. And your reward is 2x. So that seems like a decent risk reward setup for me to take. The opportunity is great, the risk is great, and that's something that you have to deal with, right? Because for some people it's too risky right now, and I totally get it. Because it is very, very risky. It's not been this risky in a long, long time, right? Like I said, we've had funds blow up, we have a bunch of shit happen. I've talked about this before. Usually these kind of big things happen at or near the bottom. This seems kind of big, so it doesn't have to be the bottom, but yeah, it's just, it's a risk reward game, and I like to play these. So yeah. Will you be shorting there or just taking out what you put in? I'm not going to short. What do you think about buying this level of 2x leverage? I mean, you can do the leverage stuff on your own. I just bought spot. If you want to buy it with leverage, buy with leverage. If you want to do anything, do it. I'm just going to be here advocating spot trading. There's a reason why I speak out about leverage trading so often. It's because any advice that I give is going to lead to your downfall anyway, for like 95% of you, right? Like I could give you the best trades on leverage, and there's a good chance you'd blow up anyway. Because you're going to doubt yourself at the bottom. You might sell the bottom, turn your position around because you want to make back what you lost on the long. Then it goes up, you're like, fuck, Don was right in the first place, and you turn your position around again. And it goes up a little, it comes back down. You're like, fuck this, I shouldn't be trading, and you close it. I've seen this so many times. I've talked with people so many times, like walk me through like their thought process. And it's just like, it's the same story every time. People doubt themselves, people make shitty plans, and then they change their mind 5 times until they don't even really realize what their actual plan was. And then they just try to make it back left, right, and center. And then at the end of the day, they don't have anything left, even though they might have had the right idea, right? It's something that you can do on your own, but I don't want to be involved. So yeah, if you're taking leverage trades, I'm happy for you if you're winning. It sucks if you're losing, but don't kind of attribute any winnings or losses to me, because yeah, I'm just saying it's probably not a good idea for most of you. So there you go. Great explanation for why not to trade leverage. Doubting myself at the bottom is my biggest leak. Yeah, I mean, and like the jumping back and forth on positions and stuff, just it's so typical. I've seen it too many times. But yeah, I bought a fucking ape at the temporary bottom. How is that? Oh, that's fucking hilarious. I literally bought this shit somewhere down here to kind of get the ape spirit in. Is what it is. Do you have a good book recommendation for trading? There are a few. Let me actually. So I like this one, and I mean the thing is, I don't want to dox myself, so this is a good one. It's very basic and doesn't teach you like, oh, you need to take a trade here and there, but it's like the mindset of like how traders work. It's pretty well represented in this one. I really liked it. It's super, super fun, right? It's not a boring one. It's a fun one. I think this is like one that you can read. It's free as well. Like it's so old that it's free. You can look it up online. There's PDFs. There's no copyright on this anymore. It's a pretty good one. I think the guy went broke. There's like, he traded like a god apparently, but had the risk management of a fucking idiot. So went broke a couple times, made it back, went broke, whatever. But like the trading stuff is really interesting. But honestly, like for the trading, this was like super bright after the black, the white. But for trading, right? I think most of the stuff you're not gonna learn in a book. The books, the only thing that you can learn in the book is risk management. So there's plenty of risk management books out there from like former poker players, all that kind of stuff. That is the stuff that you can learn from books. Everything else, I think you have to just do yourself. So you sit there, you take the trades, you gather experience, you kind of wonder, okay, what works, what doesn't, why does it work, why does it not? You make yourself a framework to analyze why your trades went well, why they didn't, what you did wrong, what you could do better, like what you could be doing better, all that kind of stuff. You write it down. You actually use your mind a little bit. Like you don't want to be reacting all the time. You want to be like, for example, like the hearing today, right? You could have either been, okay, I'm just gonna wait and see what happens, or you could have made a plan for, okay, if this and that comes out, I'm going to be doing this and that. And just make a plan. You don't even have to act on it. You just make a plan, and then you just kind of retroactively kind of look at it, and you're like, okay, would that have worked? Why didn't it work? Could I have taken advantage of this position or like of the market in general, or could I not? Is there something for me to gain or not? Blah, blah, blah. Like there's a bunch of shit, but you have to use your mind, right? And you have to kind of practice, and you're going to lose money on the way. And that's why you should probably start trading with small sizes. But I think that's the best way to learn. Like all the book shit, when people recommend you trading TA books or whatever, the TA books are the worst. Like if someone recommends you a TA book, just fucking run. Like the Head and Shoulders, blah, blah, blah. And then you learn the Head and Shoulders works out like 60% of the time or whatever. It's all garbage. I cannot recommend that. It's all about you kind of like looking at the market, figuring shit out by yourself, in my opinion anyway. Jesus Soul already at 33. Let's fucking go. Oh, this is glorious. There is so much more fuel in this shit too. Loving it. Loving it. So there you go. what was your plan? My plan, basically, with my buys, right, is very simple. I was like, sentiment is obviously, and I mean, I talked about this before. Sentiment was really bad here, right? Terrible, in fact. Like, some of the worst sentiment I've seen. We've bounced a little, it got a little bit better, and then we fucking giga nuked, right? So sentiment isn't the entire picture. But I was like, okay, this is the best TA level that we have. We can even, and I mean, this is gonna be the meme of the century, but you can look at a lot of stuff and it all kind of converges in this area, right? So you look at the moving averages. This is the 200 moving average. We probably should have put it on like a different, let me actually. So this is the 200 moving average, right? It's been really, really good at kind of catching bottoms, right? So you have like good TA on your side just based on this. I mean, people are going to be buying this, right? You also have the previous all-time high at the exact same area that we were in, right? So you have like the previous, you're buying the previous all-time high, you're buying the moving average, you're buying the bad sentiment, and you're buying ETH also hitting supports, right? So you have a bunch of confluence, also the moving average here. So you just look at, okay, how is the TA looking? Am I fine with buying based on the TA? And the TA was fine. I think like price action wise kind of looks hideous still, but TA wise it's fine. And then you look at sentiment, you're like, is sentiment bad enough that you could get like a squeeze? And I think that's definitely a yes. People are learning to short altcoins. People are learning to short Bitcoin and ETH. Sentiment is more than bad enough, right? Macro situation, really bad, obviously, but where are we trading on the macro? We're trading at monthly support, right? Does that make it 100% guaranteed that the S&P is going to bounce? Obviously not, but could easily, right? From a level like this, there's just good chance that it's going to bounce, even if it's temporary. So you have all of that kind of stuff. And then you look at, okay, why did we dump in the first place, right? So for Bitcoin, a lot of this dump was fears of Celsius going insolvent. Well, they started kind of letting people, like paying people, right? So some of that fear obviously goes away. They can't have lost everything. They didn't get liquidated. So there's some form of, okay, if even a quarter of this dump is based on that kind of fear, maybe we kind of mean revert a little bit. And then you look at the free arrow capital thing, and that's obviously the biggest unknown still. And that's the kind of stuff that you have to figure out, right? You look at all of this, you look at, okay, is the situation really as bad as it is? And this is like detective work because it's not easy to figure out. But you look into, okay, how bad is it with Celsius? Some of, like I said, some of the dump is because of that. How bad is it with free arrows capital? And then you also look at the TA, you look at the sentiment, you look at all of that kind of shit. And then you just add it all together and you're like, okay, is this a picture where I want to take the trade? Is the risk to reward actually there? Because for me, the picture, like all of that added together made me think, okay, I want to take a trade. Now I look at the charts and I'm like, okay, is there risk reward to take this trade? And I see Sol trading at like 27, 28, 29. And I'm like, oh yeah, I think there is. Like if it goes any lower, I'm going to be going out of the trade, but there's a chance for it to 2x, right? So like I'm going to take that trade. And then I did the same for ETH and I felt like comfortable enough to take a trade there. And then I was like, okay, if I'm already buying Sol and ETH, I'm just going to buy Bitcoin as well because wouldn't want to be leaving Bitcoin alone. And that's kind of how my thought process goes. It's obviously a little bit all over the place. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not. But that's the kind of stuff I think about. I don't know if that helps at all. And I mean, it's just my process. Could obviously be very different for you. But yeah, it's just, I think that's how you have to approach the markets, at least somewhat. And there's a lot of more info that you could be actually putting into your trade ideas. But there you go. Don't know if that helped. Hey Dawn, what is your opinion about ETH-BTC? ETH-BTC is an interesting spot. It's right at resistance. But I think like this is one of these situations where if it reclaims, it's just gonna go, which I'm hoping for, but I'm not entirely sure if it's going to do it. I have like a good bullish ETH-USD setup. I don't necessarily have the same for ETH-BTC. I just hope that ETH-BTC kind of invalidates this bearish retest, and that's a tall order, but I think it can do it. And if it comes back up, I think there's a good chance it just keeps on running. There's a good fundamental catalyst for it, but I wouldn't want to necessarily bet on it. Like I wouldn't take a Bitcoin short ETH long, like you know the trade, right? Because that's basically what you're doing. Like if you're longing ETH against Bitcoin, what you're doing is you're buying ETH, you're selling Bitcoin. I don't necessarily want to be taking that trade. But at the same time, I'm fine with having ETH exposure that is a little bit coupled with Bitcoin in the form of ETH-USD, right? Because if Bitcoin goes up, ETH-USD is going to go up, even if ETH-BTC doesn't. But yeah, there's not that much there. It's at resistance right now. 23 likes. We don't deserve this stuck. I mean, ever since you said it, it's at 111, so got a little bit better. Okay. So yeah, future France. I mean, ETH, maybe. This is some wild price action, man. Did you guys see this? Let me actually, and I mean, this is gonna sound hilarious, but I was looking at this on the 10-second chart earlier. This is when what's it called, FOMC or whatever? I always forget the acronyms. When the news hit, basically, and we had some. This is every candle is 10 seconds, and we had fucking moves of 5% to the up and down side. It's wild. But yeah, low time frame wise, these look kind of small, but these are big moves, right? 10-20% left and right. Why is your screen gray? Is it? The gray screen isn't a good omen, is it? For most games, that means I'm dead. Maybe I'm speaking to you from the afterlife. Already liquidated, I just don't know it yet. Some are too lazy to click the like button. I mean, I'm always too lazy to click the like button, so I'm not judging. I mean, I always appreciate it, but I mean, I'm the worst at it, so it's not like I'm judging. Duck has saved me tens of thousands. I mean, happy to hear that, man. Happy to hear it. So yeah, that's that. 10 seconds later would be proud, yeah, right? Why is Gbdc at such a discount? I couldn't tell you even if I wanted to. I mean, there's some reasons for it, obviously. So Gptc, right? If you're holding it, you have to pay management fees, and it's hard to get out of it, right? So like, whenever you have something that you can buy but you cannot sell properly, or like redeem in this case, right? So because like a Gptc kind of stands for 1 Bitcoin, right? So you buy 1 Gptc, it should be 1 Bitcoin, but you cannot redeem it, right? So it's not like that actually works, that trade. So I think it's a mixture of people being fearful, right? People absolutely wanting liquidity, right? They want out, so they sell, even if it's like at a discount. Because if it was redeemable, right? If you had Gbtc redeemable, people would be buying Gbtc right now at 14K and then redeem it, get a Bitcoin for it, and then keep on doing that until the Gbtc price is equal to the Bitcoin price, right? But you cannot redeem it, so it's really tough to push the price up like that, because people are like, why would I be buying Gbtc if that's gonna lock me into a trade for a longer time? There's obviously much more that goes into it. I'm not an expert. You should probably not be asking me. But yeah, the redeem function is basically the reason why it's trading lower. And Barry, the owner of Gptc, the fund basically, is trying to make it into an ETF so he can actually enable redemption. So if you believe that he can actually pull that off, it's a free, huge move that you're going to capture, right? Because if you're buying it at 14k Bitcoin is trading at 22 right now, you can kind of capture all of the difference. It's just a question of, can he actually pull it off or not? Because before you can redeem it, it's pretty tough to kind of close the gap. And the difference also shows kind of the trust in people, like the trust that people have in it actually being an ETF someday, I guess. What the fuck is Gptc? Gptc, I mean, you can just Google it, but there's a Bitcoin trust, basically. You can trade this with your retirement accounts if you're from America, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, you just Google it. I don't want to give like a botched explanation, but it's basically a fund that you can invest in, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to, like the moment, like if I give you an explanation, it's going to be half wrong. Just Google it. It's an important piece in crypto, so you should know about it anyway. So there you go. I like whenever I explain this kind of shit, I forget something or explain something wrong. I don't want to do it. I mean, Cret might be able to, but yeah. It's like legitimately, what is Gbdc on Google, and you're gonna be able to figure it out. Google doesn't explain it with a funny German accent. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Grayscale just hired a big shot lawyer to push forward the ETF. I know that they're working really, really hard on it. And I know that that's why a lot of my friends are actually buying it. And that's why I want to be buying it as well. I just want to be taking advantage of the next move in a liquid fashion, right? Where I can move in and out relatively quickly, because it's still a dangerous spot in the market. And then once I do my long-term kind of positioning, which, I mean, I think we're at prices where you can actually start thinking about it again. I said at 60K, I'm never going to be investing in Bitcoin anymore. If it goes any lower, then I could see myself invest again, right? And then I'm going to be buying Gptc, not only for a trade, but for an investment as well. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Like I said, it's massively cheap Bitcoin if they can make it into an ETF. So there you go. That's that. We talked about a bunch of shit, and I mean, Bitcoin's just moving around, breaking hearts. ETH's just moving around, breaking hearts, and Sol's making me happy. So there's at least something to celebrate. I don't really think there's too much more to talk about. Like the other altcoins, funnily enough, and this is something that you guys can look at yourself, and I mean, fucking hate it. The altcoins are moving again. And it's a really interesting thing, because usually, and this is something that I've done before, when Bitcoin was trading down here, right? I was actually buying Bitcoin Cash. I was buying a bunch of shit, right? Ripple, all of that garbage. And they all pumped massively into the Bitcoin bottom, right? So if you're bottoming, there's a good chance that these older coins, and I think this is why some of these older coins are moving so big, because people are speculating on the Bitcoin bottom being in. That's why Litecoin is doing so well. That's why EOS is doing so well. I think that's why Dogecoin is doing so well. Like the older coins, they tend to do relatively well near longer term or like mid-term bottoms. Obviously, it's just people speculating on it. It's not like anyone knows if this is the bottom or not, right? People always kind of make up these stories about like there being like this evil market maker or whatever, which is a wrong use of the term in general, right? But this evil figure that just kind of makes stuff happen and knows where the market is going to go. That's not true. No one does. No one knows where the market is going to go. Like, there's a few people that have a good clue, I think. Mostly mostly exchange owners. But there's no one really pulling the strings, right? It's really, really tough, and you're not going to succeed. So I think these moves are just people that have been in the market for a longer time, right? Speculating on the same thing happening. Like, for example, for me, I looked at like funds blowing up, like, for example, like Free Arrows Capital allegedly taking a big hit as like, oh, this might be a bottom signal, like longer term. And then I immediately thought about, okay, what happens during like the midterm bottoms? And that's, like I said, in my mind, like the older coins came up, and yeah, Litecoin's been doing incredibly, which is fucking, I hate it. It's not like it's trading above where I sold it at, but obviously still that looks really strong, right? And if it reclaims the entire breakdown, I'm actually going to have to buy it again, which is probably going to take the Bitcoin or like crypto market as a whole down another 50%. So be aware that like if it goes any higher, we're going to fucking nuke again. not because it's a top signal, but because I'm going to have to buy it, and then that's going to be a top signal. And it's the same for a bunch of the older coins. Even XRP went up quite a bit, and some of the other old coins went up as well, but yeah, it's the older coins mainly. Bitcoin Cash hasn't been, but BSV has. Hilarious. I've actually talked with Luna about this, and I was like, should I be buying this? Maybe it's just an illiquid. Like, I was looking at this while everything was nuking, and I saw it like be much stronger than everything else, and this is something that I look for. And I DM'd Luna and was like, hey, what's going on with BSV? Like, why the fuck is it outperforming? He was like, I don't know. Nothing on my radar, and it's up fucking 40% since. Weird how these things work. You just see relative strength, and then usually it just kind of giga moons. Same thing happened with Sol, obviously. You saw relative strength, and there's a good reason why I bought it. Like, you see relative strength, you just buy stuff. Do you believe in stock to flow? No, I think it's complete bullshit. So there you go. I think that's more than plenty. I'm going to be watching Bitcoin pretty hard to get off the screens with this kind of price action. It's a lot of fun. It's super interesting. And we're at like a crossroad, I think, of, okay, are we going to just implode, or are we going to finally put in at least a midterm bottom? So yeah, there you go. I think that's plenty. Keep on watching this shit. You don't necessarily want to be seeing the lows get taken out. There's a chance that they do, right? But I'm not necessarily too keen on testing 19, 18K. Could see it kind of collapse below 20, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm still optimistic for now. Obviously depends a lot on the traditional markets, depends a lot on how the whole Three Arrows Capital kind of story goes, and Celsius and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, is what it is. Sometimes we just have to buy into uncertainty when the setup's good enough to warrant it, and that's what I did. So yeah, thanks for coming by. Big shout out to the sponsor, which is FTX. Like I said at the beginning of the show, their links are in the description. If you want to check them out, if not, also cool. They support us, so yeah, you can check them out and support us that way, I guess. And yeah, we'll see each other maybe on Friday on a live stream. I don't know if we're going to live stream or if it's going to be a video or what it's going to be. But yeah, I'll be around. If something crazy happens, I might actually just stream randomly on a random day, because yeah, it's fun when it's moving, and it's fun when it's at like these kind of levels and everyone's freaking the fuck out, including myself. Always good times. So yeah, appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see each other soon. Bye bye.